in the tournament, mate.
Absolutely. But speaking of the arguable best player, we are going to be kicking things off on Oxide LE. We're in the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have the blue Protoss player coming down from the land of France. He is currently teamless. He is DnS.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Oxide LE, we have the Finnish Zerg player. He is red. He's currently number 1 in his group. Will he even drop a series, mate? Representing ENCE Esports, it is Serral.
Man, will he even drop a map? The only player right now with a perfect map score. Raynor dropped 1, Max Fax dropped 3, Marine dropped 2.
Mate.
Serral's looking to make a perfect group stage run.
Yeah, unacceptable, guys. What's going on? What's It's one of those things where Gabe is pretty big, but even Gabe has dropped a couple of maps here and there. Like Serral, the perfect record at the moment. Will he be able to keep that up? Like, it's one of those things, you were talking about it. DnS, he's playing for his pride right now. Like, he's not getting out of the group. That's set in stone. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, if every single little detail aligns for him, he's making out of his group. But it's so unlikely that it's fair to say DnS is making it out. I'm hoping I can get proven wrong, because I'm a bit of a sucker for dark core stories like that, but
true.
It doesn't seem too realistic, no.
There's a chance. It's a slim chance. It's a small chance, but it is still there regardless. Meanwhile, feels bad, man. The duck fell off. Just I was gonna try and do the whole cast with it. Oh god, feels bad, man.
I didn't even dedicate to that. I made sure he was safe and back on the Pringles can.
Oh god. Alright, meanwhile, Serral, by the way, did open up with a pull for us. The Lings are going across the map, but again, nothing too crazy. Just these slow Lings to scout his opponent and to be a little bit annoying.
Yeah, if he so chose to. For now, he's content with just making sure he knows that DnS knows that he has eyes on him. DnS hasn't quite made a tech choice yet, so he just want to try to keep his Zerglings alive for as long as possible to either scout that or, best case scenario, just delay that.
Yeah, I mean, he confirms the gases, delays the tech structure as well, because I'm sure DnS doesn't want to throw it down in the face of Serral, and there it is finally thrown down, but the Lings do not see it.
Oh, and it's not going to be a Stargate opening that we have gotten so used to. DnS starting off the series immediately with that Twilight Council.
I love it. I dig it here. I mean, you're up against Serral. You gotta do something crazy, right? Like, what is the plan here? We do have a bunch of gateways being thrown down. Okay, so this shouldn't be for DTs. Shouldn't being the key word there, as the Twilight Council is on the way. Meanwhile, Serral unfortunately hasn't been able to get into the main base. The Overlords have been swatted away by these Stalkers.
And just like that, Serral has no clue that his Glaive Adept's coming this way, but he feels it anyway as a Roach Roaring gets thrown down.
Yeah, again, I mean, there's no reason not to throw it down, right? At a certain point, it's like, hey, there's no Void Ray, there's no Oracle. It has to be a Twilight Council opening, like, otherwise there would be Sky units already out for DnS.
Yeah, it's like, why is my Overlord still alive? It was supposed to die minutes ago. Come on now, we're on a schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god, as we have a massive wave of Lings coming across the map here for Serral, I'm sure he's gonna get a couple more drones out, but again, the Roach Horn is already coming out as well. What's interesting about this opener, by the way, from DnS is that he opted not to go for a Robo, so no War Prism.
Yeah, just gonna be warping in at home and trying to send as many Adepts across the map as possible. Right now it's only 2, as Glaives is about to finish up, but yeah, okay, here come the reinforcements. Does he only have 3 gateways?
Yeah, that's he does only have 3 gateways. That's why I'm so surprised by this. I mean, the Adepts they're coming across the map. This could be a little bit unexpected here for Serral, but he has plenty of Lings to defend, like even more on the way. We'll see if these Adepts can get something done.
Oh, yeah, targeting down a High Health Queen, and they will be able to take it out. And I'm actually liking this a lot from DnS. 3 gates is not particularly committed, but it's enough for Serral to really take the threat seriously.
Yeah,
and all of this, he's already getting to base.
Yeah, like he got 4 drone kills, maybe he can get another. Nothing too devastating though. This will be cleaned up. And I think the other thing that's important is that Serral didn't overcommit to the defense. He didn't waste any gas on any roaches.
Oh, you're right, actually.
Yeah, just defended.
He will eventually be building up to it.
That he will. You know, roach speed is on the way, but again, he defended with nothing but lings, like as efficient as possible, trading adepts for lings for Serral anyway. Now he's going for a bit of a counterattack. Shouldn't get too much done here. I mean, there's a shield battery. There are sentries for force fields,
but it is enough to reestablish the map control. DnS can only figure out what's going on with these Haluked Phoenixes.
Yeah, definitely, and we do see DnS transitioning into that robotic spay. Going to be going into either Colossus or Disruptors here against his opponent. Again, a lot of it will depend on what his opponent goes for. And this is what I love about Serral. Like, it all comes together. He didn't waste any gas on the roaches. Sure, he's getting roach speed, so he can make roaches if he needs to, but because he saved so much gas, he's going straight into that spire.
Beautiful to witness, really. Yeah, that Galaro with Constitution is really just for reassurance, isn't it?
Yeah.
In case things start to go wrong, in case he needs to get a bit of a buffer for his ground army, as he does scout the Robo Bay coming down.
Yeah, that
probably
he does.
Expecting some disruptors. Oh, it's actually going to be Thermalance.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, as soon as Serral scouts out, he gets a wave of roaches to make sure, again, he has a ground army to deal with DNS's aggression. He doesn't want to be caught. He doesn't want to pull a Bly, right? we saw it earlier today where Bly went into mutas and it just got hard countered and shut down. So, I mean, it's understandable, especially because DNS is being very adamant with his scouting, and DNS did indeed scout the Spire with his hallucination.
So he knows that Serral wants to go into Lings anyway, but is kind of forced to the roaches, as you said.
Oh my god.
Oh, forces a recall immediately!
Yeah, oh my god, but an
almost
gets
perfect
missed.
Positioning. Yeah, just about the perfect position for Serral there to do a complete 360 on that army. Takes out a vulnerable Immortal as well. This is before the Colossus get out. Like, but DNS is looking to make up for that.
Yeah,
double at a time.
I'm honestly shocked that DNS tried to move out without a Warp Prism. Like, he was so vulnerable there. He was on creep as well. Immediately he got surrounded, forced that recall, as you said, and yeah, he's in a bit of a rough place. I mean, we do see 2 Colossus coming out at a time though, so like, once they come out, you know, that will definitely add a lot of damage to his army.
And they will, but you know what else adds damage to an army? Mutalisks. Well, they do more damage to an economy, but
yeah, the mutas are on the way. DNS, I believe he threw down a cannon. Okay, threw down a shield battery in the cannon here at the 3rd base, but his main is a little bit exposed. Okay, there we go. Now he's throwing down some side defense. Better late than never, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, definitely going to depend when the Mutalisks hit. I don't believe DNS saw that. He might have got a bit of a glimpse of a wing.
Yeah, I think he barely caught a glimpse. I mean, there's still cannons on the way regardless, so he will have at least something to defend against the mutas, but Serral can definitely find an opportunity to even pull DNS's army out of position.
Yeah, when we get to a certain amount of mutas out on the map, the cannons are there to just force your Zerg opponent to micro. They can't just hold position over the mineral line like Serral can here without the cannons.
Yeah.
I was looking at the 3rd base, which is actually looking very vulnerable. The cannon not quite in position to defend against the Mutalisks. Pulls the entire army back. Battery overcharge is forced to be used against 8 Mutalisks.
Yeah, the mutas, they got 10 probes, and the majority of them were able to escape as well, forcing DNS to come back, and that's what I was worried about. We had a cannon in the main, sure, but the natural was exposed, the 3rd was exposed as well. Like, Serral, regardless, was able to find some value with those mutas.
To say the least. Completely delaying DNS's aggression while at the same time getting himself a nice and comfortable worker lead. If it expands, gets a 5th base.
Yeah, he does. He gets a 5th. Meanwhile, the mutas are looking to find another way into the main base. Meanwhile, DNS, his army is, again, looking very strong, right? 3 Colossus, extended thermal lens is done. He does have plenty of energy for force fields as well, and he's being forced to respond.
It's going to be all about the positioning right now. DnS wants to find a choke point. Serral wants to try to go for a surround, but he doesn't quite find the opportunity.
Oh god, exactly. He does force DnS to back off. You know, the hatchery is still alive for now. There's just so much Ling pain. Oh my god.
There is, oh boy. At a certain point, you just run out of force fields. Serral does have a lot of Ravages here for the Corrosive Vials, preventing those force fields from really coming up. Oh no, a slow warp in.
Yeah, Mutas again finding even more.
Minerals.
Yeah, even more damage, getting probes, getting stalkers, getting even more probes. Oh god, DnS, mate, you gotta make something happen here. It's gonna be all about the force fields.
So gonna push in, but he's terrified of overextending. Very good force field so far. But Serral being as efficient as possible with his Corrosive Vials, trying to make sure he always has an opportunity. Oh, missing a force field just barely. And the Colossus expose themselves as the Stalkers blink away. Very juicy connection on a lot of Stalkers as well with the Banelings.
Yeah, exactly. The force fields were good, but the Ravager Biles were better there for Serral. He crushes through the army, immediately remaxes with 56 lings. Oh my god, remaking all of those Banelings, because why the hell not?
Power move there. Taking out the Luke Phoenix with the Corrosive Biles. So saying, yeah, I can use all of my Corrosive Vials right now. I dealt with all of your sentries. I don't gotta worry about force fields anytime soon, buddy.
Exactly. The Mutas are still alive, by the way, getting even more damage. We have a bit of a cheeky Colossus drop, which is nice. Sure, it forces the attention of Serral to go over here to the right-hand side of the map, but behind this mate, the Spire is being converted into a Greater Spire.
Yeah, these Mutalists will not be able to turn to Brute Lords, but a couple of Corruptors will be able to.
That they will. We will have an eventual switch into those Brood Lords. Meanwhile, the Viper's exposed. Oh, God.
Pulls away just before things could turn sour. Stalkers are running out of room to blink away from. Hot pickups versus yoinks are happening with this Colossus. So much is happening on the ground that neither player has enough APM to really split their attention. In the end, though, Serral overwhelms DnS, takes that game. Very comfortable lead here going into game number 2.
Yeah, GG, well played. Serral, he had the Greater Spire on the way. He had an Ultra Cavern on the way, and he didn't even need it, mate. He was good with Ling Bane Roach Ravager.
Absolutely some of the cleanest CVP ever been able to cast.
Yeah, that was beautiful to watch if you were a Zerg player. Meanwhile, as a Protoss, it was again, touching back on the opener, it was a very interesting opener from DnS, right? Going for Glaives, but not going for a Robo, so very, like, uncommitted. Adept's pressure, he got a third base behind it. Like, I didn't hate it, to be honest. But
I like the idea behind it, you know?
Yeah, I like the idea as well.
I feel like any other Zerg player there would have overreacted and would have been very inefficient in their defense, but this is Serral.
It is. What I will say is that, you know, at the end of the day, like, DnS, he still has plenty more builds, I imagine, ready to go up against Serral. That was a nice one in game 1. Will we have something different here in game 2? Are we going to eventually see that Sky Toss?
That can only... No, I messed up the words. That is to be determined.
There we go. Oh god, it is to be determined as we are diving into game number 2, potentially the final game of DreamHack EU here for the B stream. Or can DnS do the impossible and take a map off of Serral?
He would be the first player in this season to make Serral bleed. A lot of prestige behind that, but it's definitely a tough ask.
Yeah, it is.
And speaking of tough, we are continuing our series on Lightshade LE. We're in the bottom right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a blue Protoss player coming down from the land of France. He is currently teamless, but I'm sure we'll be doing it for every single one of his brothers there at O Gaming. Looking at you, Coca. What are you getting him in the authentic Pepite? He is DnS.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Lightshade ALE, we have the Finnish Zerg player. He is red, representing SC Esports. It is Serral.
Another pool first coming out from him.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like, it's nothing like ultra aggressive or anything like that. It's just safe more than anything.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's one of those.
Be able to get his natural base at a. Well, actually, he's gonna be able to get it at a natural location.
Yeah, yeah. He juked out the probe. He will get his natural at the natural location. Nicely done there by Serral. And I was just about to say, it's one of those things where, I mean, sure, it's a little bit, you know, inefficient. You put yourself a little bit behind economically by going for a pull first. But when you're Serral, like, you don't really care about that. You know, you're confident in your ability to, again, take the game and take the lead, even despite having a bit of a later natural.
Yeah, definitely a lot of attention to expanding and getting those drones up from Serral. It's something you always see in just about every single one of his games. He will not commit to an army unless he is either A, very threatened by his opponent, or B, already on a comfortable drone and base count.
And we'll see what DnS has in store for us here in the next game. Obviously he's working on the Zealot because Lings came out, right? He wants to make sure he doesn't suddenly fall on his face and lose the pylon at the natural or anything crazy like that. We want a bit of a longer game out of him. But yeah, like, would you like to see, you know, a different variant of a Twilight Council opening? Would you like to see the Sky Toss instead?
I would like to see a different variant of the Twilight Council opening. I would like for him to get the Twilight Council and then a Dark Shrine.
Yeah. You were gonna say
and then
that.
DT Blink, because why not?
Oh god. I mean, sure, it's always a possibility, right? But I will say that on a map like Lightshade, Glaive Adepts, like, they honestly can do very well here, especially ones that don't necessarily rely on Warp Prisms, just because, you know, it doesn't take them too long to shade across the map. Meanwhile, there we go, it is indeed a Twilight Council.
Yeah, definitely a very straightforward rush distance, or rush path, I should say.
That it is. And
this time though.
Yeah, this time a little bit more standard.
Yeah, that's a much quicker row of facility being thrown down by DnS. Even if he decides not to get too many gateways, he has a point of reinforcement with that Warp Prism.
That he does. He has a lot more flexibility with it as well. He can even start snowballing if he gets into the main base, and he can just warp in the face of Serral. So this could be a little bit scary. We just see the Overlord coming in. DnS is trying to deny the scout, but the Overlord does have a lot of HP, and it may just barely catch wind of all these gateways.
Just barely. A couple more seconds. One more hit. I think he sees the gateways at the Twilight Council.
Oh yeah. Serral saw everything in the main, saw the Twilight Council, saw the Robo as well, so he is well aware of the opening. Roach Warren is already on the way.
And so I'm going to be committing a bit more to defense, I imagine, now that he sees that DnS himself is going to be more committed to the attack.
That he is. So this time, I imagine we will be seeing roaches made. I know last time Serral was able to do amazing things with only Lings, but we'll see if he does utilize those roaches. Meanwhile, mate, do you see what I see?
I do, and I am grinning ear to ear. Such a good follow-up to Glaive Adepts. That Dark Shrine.
Exactly. Serral, he does have a Spore on the way at the third base, again, being very safe, just in case there is a Dark Shrine behind this. Doesn't have a lair on the way quite yet. Adepts are coming in. Roaches are indeed on the way.
And you're looking to jump on top of one of these queens? Not quite. Does split up Serral's army a little bit, but not confident enough to fully commit to either shade. Just juking around, continuing to warp in, and look for an opening. These roaches are exposed.
Yeah, a little bit. That's okay. They don't go too far of creep. They are able to retreat back onto it. Meanwhile, he confirms that more adepts are being shaded in, so he knows that, again, he has to be ready for these adepts, for these shades. Warp Prism trying to sneak around the edges of the map as well.
Yeah, multi-prong definitely a very good possibility right now for DnS, depending on when, on the timing, the Warp Prism is able to get into position, of course.
Yeah, definitely the Warp Prism.
Serral has enough supply to split, yeah.
Yeah, the Warp Prism is getting ready to dive into the main base. More importantly, the Dark Shrine is done. DTs can be morphed in, and there's only a Spore at the third. There isn't one in the main.
Here come the DTs. They're only now finishing up. The Overseers are going to take a while to come in as well. That main base is in a lot of trouble. I believe that's a lair too.
Yeah,
that's a lair!
That's the lair, but an Overseer is on the way. We did have a kill on the Spore that was on the way, and we'll see if Serral can minimize damage.
This has already been an insane amount of damage. At least when they're up against Serral, 8 drones go down. Most of the DTs live. Some very choice kills from these Adepts. It's going to be about the end of the early game aggression, but again, the damage has already been dealt. DnS, such a comfortable worker lead.
He does. Meanwhile, the DTs still haven't been dealt with. You know, they still are alive. Same with the Warp Prism. And the problem is that as long as this Warp Prism is alive here for DnS, he always threatens Serral, and Serral has to keep something at home.
Yeah, I'm sure Serral will like nothing more than to make use of this army he was forced to create in order to defend. He wants to go for that counterattack, but he has to keep his eyes on that Warp Prism.
That he does. Meanwhile, their lings do go across the map, but there's plenty to defend. Ooh, actually, they get on top of these shield batteries, and they're going to force some cancels.
Yeah, pretty nicely done, but when it's all said and done, DnS had a lot of reinforcements ready. Some say the force field, so like the shield batteries that can't heal you.
They are. And God, DnS, like, he did deal some decent damage, but honestly not that much. I was just quickly looking at the units lost tab, and he killed 8 drones for 12 Adepts. So he actually traded a little bit worse than he did last game. To be fair, oh my God, that Warp Prism has to be so careful.
Oh, for sure, he got a couple of queens, but I guess that just goes to show Serral not overproducing queens, confident that he's able to defend with what he's got.
Yeah, exactly. And now Serral, he has taken the lead in the worker count. Something that he is missing is a 4th base. I'm sure he's going to be getting it shortly. Upgrades are on the way as well. Meanwhile, DnS is still getting his tech up and running, going for that Robotic Spay. I imagine this time he should be going into something along the lines of Disruptors.
Yeah, now that he knows for sure, it's more of a Roach-based composition from Serral. But it's going to be Colossus again. Just as Serral gets Burrow and eventually Tunneling Claws.
Oh, okay. Phew. He still has Extended Thermal Lance on the way, by the way.
Well, he wants to keep his options open.
Yeah, he does. I mean, DnS, you know, maybe a little bit indecisive going for that Colossus first, but he is switching into Disruptors, which I do appreciate. He actually does confirm the army composition with the Hallucinated Scout, confirms, hey, there are a lot more Roach Ravagers. Colossus are not going to be enough here to defend against this.
Most importantly, confirms that Serral is gearing up for round 2. So range is just about finishing up, waiting for another round of Roaches to come in, and then it's go time.
Exactly. And I just love the way he's utilizing these Roaches alongside Tunneling Claws. Like, it's beautiful here. I can't wait to see it come into play. At the moment, there is a cannon at the 3rd for DnS, but not in the other bases. Oh, the Warp Prism is trying to sneak into the main.
Oh my lord, it's the same Warp Prism with the same DTs. Oh no, it's Adepts.
Yeah, it just happens to be Adepts. Roaches are hitting the 4th base. Dude, they do force a cancel.
Nicely done here. Serral, some way of just keeping DnS's economy low as he himself tries to equalize. Meanwhile, DnS is pushing out with his very threatening force.
That he is.
Entire main army.
At the same time, those Roaches that took down the 4th base get into the natural, and they force a recall. Oh, not again.
Vast majority of the army comes in. Another. Every game, Serral just demands an immortal sacrifice.
That he does. Every game forces a recall. There we go. We even have those Barred Roaches coming into play. Oh my God, all over the bases of DnS. Meanwhile, the main Roach army is hitting the 3rd base, and again, DnS's army is out of position because of that recall.
It very much is. He also just doesn't have the supply to split up right now. Only a single Disruptor, which we call the Equalizer, but when you only have one of them against these many Roaches and Ravages, You're gonna need something a bit more than equal.
Yeah, exactly. And the disruptor does go down in the end. I mean, this time DnS is in position, but god, these roaches are being so annoying. He's forced to keep some of his immortals in some of his other bases. Again, even more roaches sharking around, finding another way in.
Yeah, looking for a bit of an opportunity. Maybe finding a bit of a surround as well. If it presents itself, that was a kill.
That it was. Those roaches looking to find a way into the main base. Meanwhile, the Roach Ravager is just keeping DnS busy. This isn't looking to kill the Protoss. Instead, he's taking up into those lurkers.
Yeah, finding a bit of a retreat here with his Roaches and Ravagers. Do like that he borrows his drones at this first sign of trouble. No attention with this harassment force, so yeah.
There is not, as all the adepts finally get dealt with. Meanwhile, speaking of a harassment force, the roaches, they come back into the natural base. Oh!
Burrow just to be killed by a Purification Nova, but even more probes are going down to even more roaches.
Oh my god.
Serral is totally fine with getting rid of these roaches. As he said, he's trying to get his Ravager, his Hydra up, his Vipers up, and his Lurkers eventually.
Exactly, and something that we caught the tail end of is the War Prism was sniped, so no more harassment, no more of that multi-prong attack from DnS. Instead, his main army is pushing on forward, and at the moment, Serral is a little bit vulnerable. You know, he doesn't have any Lurkers yet. He was taking up. He's trying to get his Hydras up, but he's still stuck on roaches.
That he is. A lot of his army supply is in production or are in roaches. Definitely not going to be too efficient, but this poor roach is just so annoying.
Oh boy, that they are. Meanwhile, the Vipers are now coming out, and what's scary is that enough time has passed where the Lurkers are done. They are now on the way here for Serral. DnS took too much time, and now he's trying to come in, but oh god, here come the Vipers.
Pretty good yoink on that Immortal. DnS is being so careful with his Disruptor. He doesn't want that to get yoinked and taken out of commission, but
oh my god,
it's being a little bit too conservative with it as well. It's very far. It's very out of range for getting those Purification Novas to land.
Yeah, and there's no detection here either. That was a beautiful move where he was sandwiched in with the force fields, where he just burrowed back behind the force fields. Here we go, a couple more yoinks. The Immortals are all going down.
The Observers are finally getting in. DnS has a bit of an answer to the Lurkers, but even more of the army of Serral is starting to come down. His Defender's advantage is starting to really kick in. Army supplies are getting very thinned out. Only a couple of Stalkers. I'm loving the spread on his Lurkers. GG is called. Serral is on the absolute warpath. He will take that series and maintain his perfect